Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another exit interview here on Dynamic Character Productions. I am joined by the lovely Alex Trias, and as always, Lilly asking the questions. And we are unexpectedly joined by the one and only Andrew Denson today for this exit interview. Andrew, how you doing?
I'm doing. I thought that I look forward to watching that episode. Basically right after it happened. And so I thought that I would just be a grand old time, and it was like I enjoyed watching it. I didn't realize I was get so emotional watching it again because I was like, oh,
I did too.
yeah, emotions. I thought I got those out of the way, and I'm like, oh goodness, this is good shit, pal. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, but before we start questions, I do want to get some things off my chest. One, I will not be name dropping anyone if I'm talking about them negatively. It has no one in the game though. Like I love everyone in the game, and I love Prod. Like, do not worry, y'all are all aces in my book. Um, if you ever feel like I'm saying anything about you, I'm not hard to find. You can hit me up on all the social medias, and you might even have my number. Uh, I need a lot to get off. I have a lot to get off my chest, specifically about how some people are being perceived in the game from other folks. One, Austin Garsow. Austin Garsow, I feel like, did amazing in the game. One of the toughest votes for me was voting him out the first time. The second time, he actually did have to go that time. The first time, I really didn't want that to happen. So when I'm sitting here and I'm watching people say, "Oh yeah, do we think that Austin Garsow is going to go on this long immunity streak and all this," basically laughing at him, that pissed me off because it's like I was there and I know how good this guy has been at challenges, and I can't wait to see these people eat crow watching Austin Garsow do what he did in the game. When he got voted out, it was because he was a threat, not just because he was just there. Two, the only people that know what really happened are the people in Prod and people that were playing. And so when I sit there and watch people watch the edited version and laugh at Austin Moorhead and think that he has some type of big head and like he actually doesn't even know what's going on and all this, it's like based off what I'm watching, even if I wasn't there, I think Austin Moorhead was doing amazing. And I still think he's doing amazing. But if you're just watching the edited product and you sit there and you're saying, oh, Austin Moorhead's he's got no shot, that's bullshit. I feel like Austin Moorhead is one of the best characters on the season so far. And for him to just continuously get dragged is really annoying me. But once again, if you feel like I'm talking about you, I'm not hard to find. We can get started.
Love this. Love
All
this.
right.
What a
Thank
fiery
you.
start.
Thank you, Andrew. Lilly, if you have something to follow that up with.
I don't know how I'm gonna follow it up with that, but maybe we'll just go a little bit to your pre-merge game for a bit, if you don't mind. Okay, so one of the things that actually was one of my first notes that I wrote for your exit, because as I watch the season, I keep continual notes. So some of them might be like episode 2, that was like 5 years ago, but actually is from Lydia's exit. I don't know if you got to see hers, but she seemed that she was super loyal to you. She wanted to work with you. She said in her exit, after Garsow leaves, she was like, really, Andrew was the guy that I was going to work with. If you could, watching it all back, I mean, I know it's a big ask, but if you could reverse time, would you have changed your first vote out to keep that person that wanted to work with you and keep you close by, Lydia, and maybe try to push for somebody else to go in that vote?
Well, while everything was happening in real time, I was trying to do anything that I could to save Lydia. And when I learned, when I figured out, hey, this is probably not in the cards, it sucked. Once again, like those first 2 votes back to back with Garsow and Lydia, I did not want to do. And so, I'm hearing that, I'm afraid of making these things. In the past, I probably would have just voted with them because I have to make sure that people know that I'm not going to do this and do that. It's the first round of an all-star game. I have to change something up. And if everyone, if I've played this loyalty game and all that, I can still do that, but I can't do it in a situation where I could potentially be next. So no, I would not change that because I know what I did in order to try to save both of them. I was not planning on voting for Austin Garsow that first time around. And it wasn't until Mike hit me up 2 minutes beforehand and say, hey, the votes are going on him, that I just jumped ship. And I felt like I'll just talk to Karen and Lydia afterwards and hope they understand where I was coming from, that I'm not involved with this crew. And it actually got me in with that crew later into the game, as we're going to see, because I had proven that I am willing to work with y'all, even though I really don't want to. So no, I wouldn't change it. I apologize, and I hope that, just because there's this perception that Andrew likes to work with non-males and people of color, and I feel like people kind of take offense when I vote those types of people out of the game. But at the end of the day, we're all trying to win. And if that's my best road to potentially getting there, I have to do it.
So I do want to go with that, because these first 2 rounds, like from a production perspective, we are keeping tabs amongst us all to make sure we're understanding each player's position in the game. And I have to give you kudos for making those tough calls, because like I do think Exile version of you doesn't do that. Like, I don't think you let go of the people that you're like, these are the people I want to work with. I'm gonna just vote, even if I'm wrong, I'm gonna vote with them. Right. But we were scared for you after the Lydia vote, because like it just seemed like you were very clear that like, I don't prefer this to happen to everybody, but I will go with it. But then you also have people just bashing you on the way out that were like, oh no, if they keep losing, we think Andrew might be next. Like, Andrew might be next. But I think your approach to this game this time around allowed you to have a lot more give and take with the players, instead of where you're like, okay, let's make this big move, and then come back down. You're like, let me see if I can like duck and weave through this, and then you can find your positioning, which you do find in the swap, essentially.
Absolutely. And the first time I got called out, I did have a moment to myself where it's like, okay, well, that stung, but at the end of the day, I've been on that side, and I've tried not to motherfuck people on my way out, and I don't even take it as a motherfucking. But I did sit there and be like, wow, okay, well, that there was clearly some animosity there, and but I didn't take. Ultimately, I didn't take offense to it, because I know how much this game means to everyone, myself included. And to come back after being invited back to this game and to go home as early as Lydia did in that situation, I get it. It absolutely hurts. But so I've never confronted her about it. I've never been angry about it, because sadly it's a part of the game. Some people just have to. That's their way of getting past things, and I'm fine with that.
And before I hand it right back to Lilly and let her do her thing, I had one other question for you, and it's before the game even starts, because you mention it sometimes during the game, and I'm curious to know what your mindset was, because like you said you were very surprised when not only when you sent your application, but that we were like, yes, we want you. We're locking you in as long as you say yes. Like, what made you so surprised that we would want you back? Like, I think you came across as a very fun character. You had someone that like you could see the potential of your game. And from our standpoint, it was such an easy choice for us to be like, yeah, if Andrew says yes, he has a guaranteed spot.
I think for me, it was because I'm biased, and I think that Exile Island's the best. Apparently, it's Trinity Falls. I didn't realize that. But I thought Exile...
It's Exile.
And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, well, I'm not even going to apply, because even if some of these people who are now in production don't come back, there are still all these other people that are not on production that I feel like would be back. If they do 3 per season, I would at worst be non-existent, and at best be 4. And so I don't remember who hit me up. I think I had 2 different people hit me up and say, how come you haven't applied yet? It's like, I'm leaving that for everyone that, that who you actually want. And I think my conversation with you, Alex, after I had applied, really nailed it home. Like I said, I had talked to other people beforehand, but that last conversation I had with you where it's like, wow, okay, maybe I'm not just there because of things. Maybe I'm there because they actually want me back. And that meant a lot. And I feel like my first time around, I didn't get a chance to do what I wanted to do, but the fact that I left a lasting mark on the people that were ultimately responsible for bringing me back, I was very appreciative. And I like I said before I left, I planned on laughing about everything because I didn't even expect to be there, and except for that one moment, I basically did.
Andrew, I just really needed to see you compete in an individual immunity challenge.
Well, as you can see,
so, that was my total main reason why I was like, Andrew's got to compete in a DCP immunity, individual immunity challenge.
I think my closest and individual immunity was the story, because I am pretty good.
The sitting challenge,
retaining information. But this is jumping ahead a little bit to a pre-merge challenge. It was the merge challenge. The one where we have to tie the sticks.
Mm-hmm.
Unwrap.
Yeah, that was the night one.
Pencil.
The grappling hook.
Once I realized there was no way I was going to do it, I literally just stood there and tried to stay as out of frame as possible so that people wouldn't see that I'm like, I don't know how to do this. I'm not coordinated. I'm like, I'm not going to win this either. So just let these people deal with this. I'm just going to sit here and pretend like I can't unwrap my pencil, because I knew that there was no chance. And I was honestly, what happened to Moorhead, I think ultimately, obviously it ultimately paid off for him, but I feel like if I had somehow snuck my way past that one, I would have been that guy, and I still don't think I would have won that last one that he did. So,
well, that'll do it. I just have one. Well, I guess I have 2 more questions before the merge. One's really to do with the merge, though. My first one is, you say in one of your confessionals that your strategy pre-merge is to just lay low and make it to the next round. Did this strategy change or impact your game versus how you played it in Exile, or how you might have gone into it and had a different, I guess, how did the strategy really affect your game, and why did you choose it?
One of the most telling confessionals in Exile, and from me, I think it was either the episode I got booted or the episode before, where I'm like, hey, we just did this thing on Connor. I'm just going to shut the fuck up and get in the back of the line and let these people duke it out. Because usually when I play in games, that is what I do. I'll do something like that, and then I'll just shut up for a bit and let these people with these egos and all that, let them deal with each other. And then the next round, I'm like, oh, yes, Lauren doesn't like John, but they also could be working together, and John's left with this, and I'm just throwing everyone out there. Ultimately, I go home, and it's like, yeah, you really screwed up on that one. And so this time around, it's like, I have to do that. I have to make sure that no matter what, no matter who I am losing, I have to make it to these next rounds, because at a certain point, these people are just going to start going after each other because, and this is another soapbox moment, people have these weird perceptions in these games where you could sit there in the first round and say, hey, if they make it to the end, they're winning. It's like, based off of what? Because nothing's happened. I understand that, if a person has a reputation in the community, and this is talking about orgs in general,
right?
People have reputations in the community. If they make it to the end, they're going to win. It's like, that's not true, because if they do diddly poo in this game and they sit at the end, you cannot sit there and tell me that you're just not going to give me a shot because they sat there at the end. It's bullshit. So for me, playing round to round, making these connections socially, because I knew that strategically that would just come with the social aspect, and it does pay off until it doesn't. But that's the one thing that I want to change from Exile is you can just do little things. You don't have to do anything too crazy, because people do share information. Mm-hmm. And if they share enough information, then you're gone. So the round that I got swapped, I'm pretty sure I said this in a confessional. I was all right being swapped 4-1 because usually that means that you're probably going to find something to latch on to. Because these people have been playing together for so long, they probably have a bottom of their own. And as long as you're willing to play ball, it's fine. And when Zucker, Ashley, and Shea all came to me individually and said, hey, there's a way for you to stay, but like, don't tell these other two yet because we don't know and we don't want to look like we are scheming. And I'm like, no, don't worry, I won't tell on any of you. And I didn't tell on any of them. And I also gave them information from my tribe that was true, but it really wasn't. Like, oh yes, I'm on the bottom. True. There are voting blocks. True. When we get to the merge, we're good. Not true, because my plan was always, if we can do this, Exile Island or OG Tribe as many as possible, sitting there at final 6, 7. And as we saw, once we got there, I was expecting people to just kind of once again just deal with each other, because why would they mess with me? I don't have this perception that I would win if by just existing. So I think that answers your question.
You always answer our question and then some, and that's what I love about you, Andrew. I do think your approach to it is, especially the early portion of this game, like before a merge, is a way that more org people should handle it. Like, even with perceptions, whatever, like, you can, like, I'm sure you're like, okay, noted, like, Simmons, a great player. Like, yeah, awesome Moorhead, always goes deep into a game.
Karen.
I don't care. Karen, former winner. Sure, I'll ally with them right now. It's beneficial to me to ally with them, and then I'll deal with it when I need to. But you're handling it as a game, not like, okay, here's all these other games too that I have to worry about for this specific purpose.
Absolutely. And as a coach, when you're sitting there scouting the other team, you don't sit there and look at, oh, well, they've won all their games and we've lost 2. That means we're probably going to lose. Because that's a horrible mentality to have. And so when people keep sitting, and honestly, that's one of the things that going into the last day of the mini, I had let start slipping into my head, even though I didn't want it to. If you consistently have people in your ear saying, oh, Karen's going to win, or Lex is going to win, or Kylie's going to win, after a while, it starts like, oh, maybe they actually will or are going to win. And that's not the type of mentality that I have in real life. And that's not the type of mentality I feel like people should have in these games. You should always feel like, yes, this is not the best situation to be in, but I could win based on, like, if I do this, if I say this, if they screw up and say this, if they pissed off this person. So I don't understand this almost defeatist mentality of, they're in this game. No, they win if they're there. I'm going to give them my vote anyway. It's like, that doesn't matter.
We at DCP are a big champions of Final Tribal Council matters. Not to throw Lilly under the bus, but if Final Final Tribal didn't happen, if Final Tribal didn't happen, then Lilly was winning Exile. But like, Alex was able to talk in Exile. Same with like Trinity Falls. I think we gave V a platform where she could talk. Mm-hmm. So like, I think the bringing Karen to the end, sure, she's a previous winner, but what if Andrew's case for winning the game is better than Karen's? Like, just because she won before doesn't mean that she'll do it again.
What I'm just hearing is you're not supposed to bring in Alex to the end because we love to talk.
Please leave her alone.
No, I love Lilly. Lily's on my Mount Rushmore. I made that known.
Well, I'm honored. Ian, why did I just say Ian? I'm so sorry.
We're twins.
Andrew, you kind of mentioned earlier what my next question was. And I said this on the Sunday show I was in. I think that there is an underlying way that you kind of altered the game post-merge. And that was by telling the original Fumo that you swapped with that there was cracks in the original Ignis, everything you mentioned, voting blocks, you're on the bottom, they're not really tight. And I think this led to that group feeling like they weren't threatened by the original Ignis. And it kind of, I think, allowed them the opportunity to turn on each other, as we see with Lex and Kylie. And you did kind of answer my question there, because you did do it intentionally, it sounds, to give them the right information. But I was just wondering your thoughts on kind of seeing it play fully out to where you get voted out, where they continually do not see the original Ignis as a threat. Even we hear a lot of the OG3 that swapped, but I think, again, we see that you and Zucker are the ones that are throwing that stuff off of them, because they forget that you were on that original Ignis and that you have ties. So, just your general thoughts about how you alter the game, and were you expecting that to happen so fully into the merge, as we're saying now?
No, I didn't expect it to happen that fast. I felt like there was probably going to be some type of casualty from my Ignis end first. And then obviously, I wake up the first day of the mini, and Karen's like, hey, Kylie really likes you. I'm like, well, that's weird, but all right, cool. So me, Kylie, Karen get on a call, and Kylie wants Lex out because of something that I have no idea about. Now, I had talked to Lex the night before, and he was like, hey, I dig your vibe, and we're meshing, and no one would suspect us. And I'm like, okay, cool. I can see why people like you. I get it. And we're in the room with the three, and all I'm hearing is it'd be a perfect opportunity to get rid of Lex. And I'm just like, oh, okay, God. I thought Maddie maybe might go, but like, cool, if they want to do this, I'm all right with it. And then, something that wasn't shown, what is kind of talked about. The three of us are sitting in there. Zucker comes in, and I think right before Simmons comes into the room, and immediately I get a message from Shea saying, hey, I hear there's a group going on right now that are planning on voting out Lex. And I very visibly get pissed off, and I look right into the camera and say, oh yeah, I thought we were sitting here doing this, but someone just messaged Shea and said this. So even then, it's like, for me, at that point, and I watched Shea's exit interview where he was like, he didn't feel like he was this type of this threat. To me, that was threatening to me, because it's like, oh man, people are just sharing stuff with Shea. I don't want people to share stuff with Shea. I want people to share stuff with me. So he becomes a threat to me. So if people are putting out Shea's name the next round, obviously I'm going to latch on to it, because I want to be that person. Mm-hmm. So, this Lex Kylie thing's going on, and bless Ashley for just saying, hey, why don't you guys just leave and we'll just discuss this. Thank you, Ashley, so much, because at that point it's like, okay, well then there's no type of chicanery that's going to go on here. One of these two is going to go home, and then all we have to do later is paint one of them as a target when we need a target a couple rounds later, because of things that were said in this round. These two basically gave everyone ammo for the other person to potentially get targeted down the line, because they were great players. They were perceived as great players. And ultimately, I feel like it all paid off in the end, because as of now, Zucker's the only OG Fumo left.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, asterisk, Austin.
Yeah, that's
yeah, but as Andrew says, we don't really count it.
You're one of us.
So speaking of the Austins, like, you now met up with Austin Garsow again at the merge, and he's had Karen in his ear being like, Andrew's the one that flipped on you. I know there was a lot of chaos at the merge, but did anything ever happen between you and Austin Garsow at the merge or during the mini rounds at all to like bring any of that up?
So at the swap, I got everyone in a call, and I just basically laid it all out there. I'm like, mm-hmm. I voted for Garsow, blah, blah, blah. And they all say, oh man, Garsow thought that it was Karen that flipped. I'm like, no, it was me. This is why I did it. And I will tell Garsow that if we hit the merge together. we hit the merge. Garsow is one of the first people I talk to, and I say, hey, this is exactly how it happened. I told him everything. And I'm like, either he's going to believe this and, still kind of not trust me fully, which I totally understand, or he's going to get the Fumo tribe to try to target me first, which is not going to happen because I'm now everyone's best buddy on this side because I just gave them all the ammo they need for whatever they want to do later on in the game. So I did try to rekindle what me and Garsow had that first couple nights, but like I never felt like he would ever come after me early in the merge. And I feel like late merge, he definitely wouldn't because he'd wants, Simmons, Maddie, and Austin Moorhead out at that point. He has no reason to go after me. So yeah, I loved Garsow. I love him even more after the game. He's a part of the crew that sits and watches the episodes air live. And it's been fun to actually like get to know him outside of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you did a good job with putting yourself in a good position where people didn't want to say your name, because outside of the swap round where they obviously have someone put a vote on you in the event that Jeremy would play something, you never receive another vote. Yeah. You don't receive a vote in pre-swap. You don't receive any in the post merge. So I think it does give a lot of credit to, some call it the jury management of the game. Some call it, as I call it, the social aspect of the game, where you have made yourself valuable to people. Like everyone is looking at you and like, oh, we can grab Andrew as a number. While in the meantime, by allowing, when everyone's allowing you to be the number, that puts you in a little bit more of the driver's seat to help sway who wins the day.
Yeah, and this is outside of the game, but I talked to Zucker. Me and Zucker hung out a couple months ago, and I told him that he had the biggest balls for never playing the idol until he did.
Yeah.
And he said it was because he had people, and not just me, just the people that were like just reiterating to him, like, do not worry, you are good, you are good, you are good. And I don't know what tribal it was, or it might have just been a confessional. I sat there and said, oh yeah, I tell the truth to everyone except for the person that I am lying to that's going to go home that round. And so I never end up in a situation where I get caught and people are like, I don't get a John moment from Exile Islands where it's like, oh man, Andrew tells a lot of stuff to a lot of people. That's where I screwed up. And I just kept thinking about that. It's like, I can't let that happen again. So I have to make sure if I'm in this room, I say this name and I say this name to everyone so that even if I vote differently, they know that I told them the truth and we could potentially do something, down the line. Now, thankfully, I was voting correctly every single time. So the person that would go home, I wouldn't have to worry about that eventually coming back to bite me. I think
it did.
I think that's your catchphrase, Andrew. I think you need to get
that and bringing it home.
Yes.
Bring it home, yeah.
I mean, and we do see you navigate the mini section very well. I think like minis are very stressful. They're very hard to kind of figure out what's going on, but you seem to I don't know, just do it with ease, maybe. The scenes that we see you in, you're not stressing out, you're not panicked. And I think that is a key to these mini days is people want to work with someone that's sitting like this, right, on the computer. Whereas some people, like me, if I play mini, I'm like, so what are we doing? What are we and then we're going to come back and then we're going to, like, nobody wants that, right? And so I think like you being relaxed help people to really trust what you're saying, because why is he so relaxed if he's not telling the truth?
And like even in confessionals too, like you're just all around, like some people can let out their emotions in confessionals and you're just like, yeah, I'm just rolling with it.
And that's why I had so much fun at tribals, because it's like I could say whatever I want right now and no one's gonna pick up on, hey, I mean, certain folks have called me out on it, but I am trying to appeal to the jury because I want them to see that this is the exact same person that's been playing the game. And so now I'm sitting here as a finalist and I'm going to give you exactly that. You can ask me whatever question I want. You're not going to pump me into, being like, oh no, I'm so sorry for this. It's like, no, you're not doing that. I'm going to give you me this entire time. There was I don't like minis. I do tend to do very well in minis. Never sat at the end. People always find a way to not let me sit at the end, but it's fine. I do really well at minis because I love talking to people, and I love just sitting there and saying, hey, let's do this, or I totally understand if you don't want to, or if I hope that I'm not, Kylie, do you have any children in the background before, like, I swear, like that one where it's like, hey, can I swear, is that fine? Or I try to make it so that I'm humble, so that people think that I'm like, I'm just here, I'm just here for fun. I get it, but ultimately I am always thinking about the game. And I think with minis that makes it a lot easier. With long games, real life gets in the way.
Mm-hmm.
And even with long games, specifically, like, for some reason I do really well in Big Brother games. I don't know why. I've never watched Big Brother besides seasons 1 and 2. But I always tend to finish like 5th or 6th because people really like Andrew until they realize, oh yeah, we might have to nip that in the bud. It's like, well, fuck you. But
that's Big Brother.
Well, in my final question, unless the other hosts have some before we go to Facebook, is, a big theme, the Exile Boys. I think it's natural that you guys come together. You work together very well. How is your game different? Had maybe when you approach Zucker's like, nah, man, I'm not trying to do that. Or you get the vibe that it's off. Like, how much does Exile help form your post-merge game?
It is my post-merge game. I could, if I had the Ignis thing, eventually I would have had to make a choice between Fumo and Ignis. Now with an Ignis Exile Fumo, I can remove Fumo and still have these two, and then at 6 have options. The most telling, I loved this episode that just aired. It was great editing all around, because I watching it back, it's like, in this moment, I see that, yes, my read was correct. Get to Final Four and make Michael Simmons decide between Exile or his trio,
Mm-hmm.
if he's there, in that situation, in that Final 6 situation. My read was right, and being in the middle of these two alliances. But in order to do that, we have to get rid of that third one. I understand that people call Pagongings very boring. You know who that's not boring to? The people that are actually doing the Pagonging, because every round that goes, the paranoia starts going like, oh, any moment now, this person's going to turn on me. This person's going to turn on me. And then it doesn't. It's like, okay, well, that's because they're waiting until next round for it to happen. And at a certain point, someone's going to bite, hopefully, and take out each other. And as long as it's not me, then I'm good with it, because I would have been able to sit in the middle of two alliances along with other people. It sucks that it ended the way that it did, because the day of watching it back with the conversation I had with Karen, I can see on my face, and like I mentioned earlier, I could see on my face, now I have Ashley and Lex and Simmons and all these people in my ear saying, Karen's going to win if she gets to the end. And like, I had removed that for the longest time. And now that I'm sitting here in a situation where it's like, I could potentially go to the end with this person, you have to make up your mind right now. Do you want to do this, or do you want to hop on with this crew and vote her out? Because they had messaged me the night before and said, hey, it's got to be Karen. And I'm trying to beat around the bush saying, oh, she might have something. She might have something. She might have something. And, when we actually go to vote, I'm not voting for Karen. I'm not voting for Zucker. And I'm not voting for my Exile guys at that point, because I want, if Maddie goes there, I'll just have to explain to Austin and Simmons, hey, I felt like y'all were closer to her. Or like, just feed them some bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
What the truth would have been is, I'm not going to vote for any of the 4 of these people because I want them to still see me as an option. So I wish that I could have relayed to Karen, or Karen could have relayed to me, this is the person that we are voting for.
Only
but
you had that scramble time.
Yeah, but we didn't have that scramble, and it's fine. Like it is a part of the game. As a person who hates twists, I actually didn't mind that twist. Like it was a fun twist. It didn't work out for me, but I was like, wow, that's cool. I guess they did try to do it in 44 this season.
I mean, coincidentally, in like all of our minis, the final 6 has been a no scramble kind of round, or like you have 3 minutes at tribal council, talk openly. Like we've done that a lot at our final 6. So it's funny that Simmons was like, yes.
Let's keep the tradition. But let's get Alex off guard and have to figure out questions right on the spot. But yeah. I do want to go with that.
You didn't see that. Wait, hold on. So when did that expire?
Final 5.
Final 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he had 2 options, and
okay.
I think as soon as he won that immunity, he was like, "Yeah, I'm playing it."
Okay.
Don't give Karen any time to talk to Andrew, talk to Zucker.
Yeah.
None of that. And then in his head, Karen goes, or there's some weird screwy vote. But it doesn't matter. He's safe.
Yeah, that's true. And when Karen and Zucker play their advantages, watching it back, it's just like I'm nodding. I'm just like, yeah, screw it. One of these people are gonna go home, and it's all their fault. And I'm just like, I'm excited. I'm getting pumped. I'm like, yes, another vote for Karen that doesn't count. And I'm expecting 2 Maddies. And when it's not 2 Maddies, I think Maddie's the first person, I think, to realize it on camera. And then everyone kind of just falls in line. And my smile goes from like, yeah, screw you guys, to like, oh man, that just happened. All right, cool. Try not to cry. And yeah.
Same.
Yeah, I could see it, Alex. I was like, oh.
Because I truly was not expecting, as a host, going into that, I was like, oh, Maddie's toast. Like, Karen's obviously gonna vote Maddie. They've had no real like connection other than like that night they had like a conversation and Karen read like Maddie's blah. It was like all this stuff, and they're like, I was still like, she's still gonna vote Maddie. And then as soon as she puts that Austin M up, I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Where is Andrew gonna go? And Andrew puts up Maddie. We're all like,
yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god. But it gives, as I keep saying in our group chat, because you keep saying a different Survivor player that I will not name on this. This is a Suri moment in the essence of there is only one option to go. And I think it's like, it's one of those, like, it sucks that I leave the game, but to be put into a position of like another iconic, idolized Survivor player, I'm like, okay, I can sort of take that. It's a memorable way to go.
Yeah, I agree. If you ask certain individuals, it was more of a Tyson and here's versus villains moment. But
we're not asking them. We're here. And we're gonna head over to Facebook because you've got some people that love you over there and want to know some things about the game.
And not about the game.
And not about the game.
Yeah, because first question is from Luke from Trinity Falls. So sorry to see you go. What was your favorite John Williams score?
The Superman theme song.
There you go.
There you go, Luke. Next is from...
Quick.
That fun story about that. Me and Luke played a mini my first couple of months of playing games, and we were connecting over John Williams music. And then, I ended up like voting him out. And the twist was he could drag someone out or something like that. And he had caught on to the fact that I was voting him out. And so he dragged me out with him. And I have never encountered him again until both of us joined DCP at different points. So
nice. I know it's the game of which no one can say the name of.
Oh yes. Maybe.
Redacted.
Okay. Yes.
As we all love to say. The next question is from Kylie. Andrew, it was great getting to play with you, even if it was just for a short while. And ultimately, it was your vote that sent me out. The winking, jokey face emoji.
I was the only one that spelled her name wrong. Oh, right.
You were the only one to vote her name.
You're the only one to vote Kiley Kelley out of the game.
Yes. Sorry to see your game end like it did. Comprise your dream trivia team. I don't know how many make a team, but for giggles, let's say 5. With a combination of Survivor contestants and DCP All-Stars contestants. So let's do 2 and 2 because you're on the team.
You're the 5th.
You're the 5th, so you need 2 Survivor players, 2 DCP.
I don't know. I feel like Shea probably knows a lot about a lot. He seems like the type of person knows a lot about a lot. And let's go with that's hard. We'll say Lex.
And then 2 Survivor players.
Sadly, I'll have to say Spencer Bledsoe. And Christian.
There you go. What a team. Next,
very male dominated. Now that I think,
very male dominated there.
The new bros. We're the new bros.
Yeah, the new bros. You're gonna just be like, you're my new Exile 2.0. Next is from Nick Cannon. Andrew, sorry to see you out. You made it feel like #it's coming home in all of our hearts. What are the ways that a rugby match and a game of Survivor are most similar?
Okay, so I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here before
I love it.
One of my favorite books / one of my favorite movies, I keep a copy on me all the time, is Moneyball. And the reason I love Moneyball is, if for anyone that's never read it or watched it, it's about how, Billy Beane tried to use things outside of the game of baseball to try to win games. For me, that's how I always play orgs. Like, I understand that, there is this perception that you have to do this, that, and the other in order to win games. As I mentioned during one of the tribal councils, historically on Survivor, it's not the person that makes all the crazy moves that wins. They're in the minority when it comes to winning Survivor. It's everyone else. And so my goal whenever I play is, and it has not paid off, so like, what do I know? But to play in a way where I don't deem the stereotypical threats as threats, I deem the people that I perceive as threats to be threats, which are people like Shea, people like Garsow, people that, people are not going to look at them as the people as the threats, but I see them as, if I sit next to these people, I have a better chance at losing than I do sitting next to everyone else, because I know that I can do this, that, and the other better than them, as compared to Garsow, Shea, and all these people where it's like, there's no chance because they have this and they have that. So reading and watching Moneyball as much as I have moved that to my coaching career, my rugby coaching career, where I work at a school full of engineers. They're a bunch of nerds. And, yes, although they all have their athletic abilities, people constantly underrate us because RPI is an engineering school. And so I build my team not around what traditional rugby says that we have to do. I do it based off of what I know could get us as far as we do. And I've got this bad boy to prove it, that, ultimately, it doesn't really matter what people tell you. You have to make these big moves, or you have to do this, or you have to do that, because ultimately all you need to do is sit at the end and prove to these people, I deserve to win over this person. Yes, it might not work, but at least I got here and was able to share my piece. So that's how it's like rugby.
I'm also anti bucket lists and to-do lists on Survivor, so I'm right there with you, Andrew. The next question is from an exile buddy. It's Greg. Andrew, my friend, I was devastated experiencing this in real time, and watching it back felt just as shocking. You played such a strong social game, and you should be very proud of how you played. In this episode, we saw your analysis of everyone's threat level. I'm curious who your ideal final three was and how you would have argued your case to win against them.
When we hit the mini, as I've mentioned many times on here, Ignis, Exile, as long as we hit final six, I'm good. I never really thought about what the final three was going to be in that situation because I just want to get there and then just reevaluate the next morning. I think my last confessional in the penultimate My Boot episode, I say that. I wake up Sunday and I'm talking to Karen and I've talked to Zucker and I had messaged with the Ignis 3 over here the night before. And I realized everyone has a story, and I say that everyone has a story. That's fine. I feel like my ideal final three at the time, and this is probably not even what it was at the time, but just thinking about it, probably would have been an exile person plus Karen. Didn't really matter who the exile person was, plus Karen. And my argument would have been the exact same thing. It had been the entire game. I sit there and I say, hey, or not even the entire game, even just here, hey, y'all have put Karen up on this pedestal for reasons outside of what's happening here. Hey, y'all have put Simmons on this pedestal for reasons outside of here. All of you are going after Zucker. All of you are disrespecting Moorhead, but I'm cool with it right now because I need you to vote for me. All of you, I feel like my worst chance at winning would have been sitting next to Maddie, who, we never got a chance to like have a relationship in the game. We just happened to be a part of one of the same alliances together. But I feel, and I have talked to her about this afterwards, it's like, the person that I felt most threatened by at that point was Maddie. And so when we go to vote, even if I didn't have this Exile Alliance thing going on, and even if I wasn't, I probably still would have voted for Maddie in that situation, still knowing that she probably wouldn't go home, because I need to show everyone like, hey, this person is a threat. And we probably need to deal with it now. It didn't turn out like that, but what can you do?
Yeah, but it goes to show, it's like you play the game that you see in front of you, not the game of the past. And you were correctly looking at people and like, based off my game, Maddie's someone I can't sit next to. But going forward, next question is from Maddie's brother, John. And he has several. So we'll try to go lightning speed on these. Andrew, my Exile brother and DCP legend, your game this time around was top notch, and you certainly did Exile Island and yourself proud. I know you have played a plethora of games, but what did you learn from your Exile Island experience specifically that you applied to All Stars? So that's the first question.
I used to have a really bad impulse control problem. I would just kind of go off if I felt like I was being slighted, which I kind of did earlier. But I thought that I had crossed that bridge until Final Six, where the first time in the game that I ever feel like, oh man, I can't believe people didn't let me know that this advantage existed. Instead of just being rational and saying, you know what, screw it, just vote Karen and apologize to her later. I'm like, nope, screw this. Like I'm gonna just vote for one of these people and just let's see what happens. So I would say that what I learned this time around is I still have a lot to work on as far as impulse control, but I feel like I've still come a long way from where I was 10 years ago. And I think that orgs, I'm thankful that I started playing them when I did. It was January of 2021. And, I was it was a weird point for all of us, but I was at a weird point in life. And I learned very quickly that, these games can make you do crazy things. And I'm so thankful that I've never reacted a way that I've seen other people react in other games where like they're flipping people off on the way out or they're wishing death on people's families, just like crazy stuff. I'm glad that especially in DCP, I don't think I've ever seen, for the most part, I don't think I've ever seen like anything like that in this community. And so, and working on my impulse control, which is something even at 32 that I could always be better at.
Hey, none of us are perfect. We always strive to be the best versions of ourselves. And I think for the course of this game, you were the best version of yourself. So I will definitely cut you a lot of slack for a very sporadic moment in a speed round to allow yourself that moment. The next question for him is, in this latest episode, it becomes evident that Simmons, Austin, and Maddie still considered themselves the core three of your Exile plus Maddie alliance. How aware of this dynamic were you, and what was your plan for navigating that group over the 2 votes following the final 6? So this is bearing in mind a final 6 where either Karen or Zucker still go. Yeah. So I guess in this case, Karen goes.
Yeah.
And it's Exile and Maddie.
So my perception throughout most of them, and I mean, shoot, you even see me go to one of the 3 or 2 of the 3 and say, hey, people are saying, you guys' 3, if it's true or not, I really don't care. Because I didn't, because ultimately, once we hit 4, I have to put Simmons and in my head at the time, Austin in a situation where you have to make a choice between me or Maddie. And, the fact that we never even got to that point shows that it didn't ultimately work. But I was aware of it. It was very obvious. I think the most telling one was when the 4 of us were in a group chat together. It's like, well, Maddie wasn't in Exile Island, but we have that chat and we have the Exile Island chat. I'm sure you guys still have your OG thing going on. It's not a big deal to me because they at least are letting me know that this is a thing. So when Ashley is saying, we need to deal with this 3, that could impact my game. So I'm going to go tell these people, hey, Ashley's saying this, so we might want to do something about it. Mm-hmm. So once again, it's all about telling most of the truth, and in that case, all of the truth, except for to the person that's going to go home that round. And once again, it worked until it didn't.
Yeah. And then his last question for you is, and I don't know how we answer this question, honestly, knowing John. Which movie that I have probably never seen should I and all the listeners watch?
I'm going to stereotype for a second and just assume that he hasn't seen The Wiz. But
he's a musical theater guy. I don't know.
Has he seen The Wiz? But let's see. As Good as It Gets is one of my favorite movies. So I watched him and Phil's top 100 up until I think I have their top 10 left. So I mean that's been going on forever. So I don't know if he's mentioned this movie, but As Good as It Gets is one of my favorite movies. Jack Nicholson, Helen Hunt. This is probably on their list if I remember. What's Eating Gilbert Grape with Johnny Depp, Leonardo DiCaprio. But if I'm just stereotyping, The Wiz, I would say The Wiz, the movie version, and not whatever gentrified stage version there is out there.
Well, he concludes this by saying, once again, super proud of your performance, my friend. There is no doubt in mine or anyone's mind that you are an all-star. Cannot wait until we have the opportunity to share a drink together. John, always Cheers, good John. To hear from you. Next person, Michael Zucker. Coach Drew, so great getting to play both my DCP seasons with you and having the chance to meet you outside the game. You played a hell of a game this go around, and I'm sorry you got out the way you did. But to be mentioned in the same sentence as Sari is a good consolation prize, right? With all the games you've done, what would you say is your biggest strength and biggest weakness as a Survivor player?
My biggest weakness is, and amazingly, in both DCP seasons, y'all never actually got to see this. When I'm against the ropes, like when I know that my name could potentially be put out there, I kind of go psycho killer mode as far as like I'll go on, I guess I go on long rants where I'm just like, hey, if you do this, then blah blah blah, and this, that, and the other, and I feel like this is bullshit, and then I get voted out, and I'm like, bye guys, see you later. So I would say that is a weakness as far as like, especially in Big Brother games. If I'm on the block, I basically just hinder my game by just attacking everyone in the house instead of just shutting up and making people make a rational decision where Andrew sucks at challenges, so we should probably keep him longer than the person he's on the block next to. My biggest strength is connecting with people. I'm not arrogant about most things in life. Usually just trivia and being God's gift to wingmen. But I would say that number 3 would be connecting with people because, I'm not afraid to talk about trauma. I'm not afraid to talk about good things. Like I will sit there and I'll talk to anyone about anything. I really don't care. And I feel like people kind of latch on to that because they feel like, I could be this person. And I am so thankful to have made as many connections as I have from this community, not only just DCP, but just the org community in general, because of these connections that I made with these people, in these games. And yes, I mean, obviously, I've been voted out of every game that I've ever played in, and I have voted out a lot of people that I are now friends with.
I wouldn't say you were voted out here.
Here, no. But I feel like that's the difference between some orgers and others is they take it as a slight when you vote them out of a game, a personal slight, instead of taking it for what it is. If I beat another coach and I just happen to be friends with them, I get it that he's annoyed, or he would get that I'm annoyed, or she would get that I'm annoyed, or whatever the case is. It's the exact same thing here. I lost, and when I left, I said I'm rooting for all 5 of these people to win because I have no ill will towards any of these people. Now, when I played the first time, it was like, oh, Lily or bust. But this time around,
weren't we all?
Truly.
I can take a loss for what it is. It sucks, and we have to adjust. But I'm so thankful that the friends that I've made in this community also share that same mentality of it is a game. I probably won't talk to you tomorrow, but the next day after that, I probably will. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And his second question, which I find hilarious, if you had to choose between playing CBS Survivor for no money or going on a date with Hannah Shapiro where she pays for everything, which would you choose and why?
Wow, that actually is very hard. Well, I mean, I guess it's easier because Hannah has a boyfriend now, so like...
she's single now. Boyfriend disappeared. No, not actually in real life.
Did you see my face?
Andrew's world was about to open up.
For the sake of the experiment here, she is single.
She's single. I'll take that. I will take that any day of the week.
All right.
And I love Survivor, and I would love to play it and all that. I would take the date any day of the week. Her paying, I would probably just be like, I left my wallet at home, but like, I'd pay her back. I'd Venmo her.
It'll come out in the wash when you're married.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Thank you, Zucker, for that amazing question. We got 2 more questions. So Brittley asks, Andrew, you played a great game, and I had so much fun talking about movies, TV shows, and music with you. Haha. It's weird to say haha in a question. Okay. I think it's only fair to ask, what is your favorite musical?
My favorite musical is The Sound of Music. period. The Sound of Music is okay. This is going to get kind of. When I was younger, like before I got to late elementary school, early middle school, Sound of Music was still my favorite musical, and for some reason, there's a line that I won't say on here that the character of Rolf, Liesel's boyfriend, says a couple times throughout the movie that I just thought was like the funniest thing because I didn't know what it meant. Later on, I would go around saying it in my house, and my mom would be like, "You can't say that. This is why." And then she showed me, things that happened during that time period. And it's like, oh, why is this in this movie? But it didn't really matter because I still had the songs and the cast, and like I think the woman that played Liesel and Julie Andrews were like two of my first crushes growing up. So like, Sound of Music is always going to be. Grease is as a honorable mention. Even though Stockard Channing was like 70 when she played Rizzo, but like,
love those choices. Last question is from the Mayor of Ponderosa himself. It's Lex. Andrew, this game may have gotten spicy at times, but through all the sporty challenges and all the scary moments of playing from the bottom, I hope you come out proud of yourself. While some people cried like a baby or used their ginger powers to find advantages, you were posed, polished, and posh this season.
Oh, you got the posh in there. Okay.
My question is, if you could make any combination of a 5-person alliance this season, who would it be and why? So we're going straight one world.
Okay.
And there you go. Anyone is up for grabs for your 5-person alliance.
Okay. So everyone in the cast. So Lydia, Karen, Maddie, and what did I say? Lydia, Karen, Maddie, and Kylie.
Andrew and the gals. Love it. Great alliance, honestly.
Yeah.
Again, Derry just dropped them all in there. All very capable players. I think you guys would have it wrapped.
I go out at 5, so it's fine.
Yeah. That's fine. You're doing it for good reasons. Last question before mine is from a late entry, Carrie Underwood. Andrew, would you rather fight one whale-sized Danny DeVito or 20 Danny DeVito-sized whales?
That's not even supposed to be funny. Like, I mean, it is that's supposed to be funny. It's not supposed to be like laughable funny.
Danny DeVito. I mean, really?
It's because it's Danny DeVito, and I'm imagining him in the Christmas episode of It's Always Sunny, where he's like naked.
Oh
God. I would rather. So it's one whale-sized Danny.
One whale-sized Danny DeVito or 20 Danny DeVito-sized whales.
Yeah, I'll take for option 1, please. Thank you.
What a story. What a story that would be. And now it gets to my question, and my question is me, Mr. Positivity. Tell me one positive thing you take away from your All-Star experience.
I mean, besides the fact that I went out in style, I would say that I've never played on a cast like this before. I've played on other All-Star games, and I feel like people's egos got in the way of a lot of stuff that happened in those games. With this one, I felt like everyone was treating it as what it is. It's an all-star season. This is how I feel I need to do this. This is how I feel I need to do that. But it never, even in Ponderosa, it never seemed like anyone was angry. And that's something that I can't say about other things, about other games. The fact that, I mean, people have slurped y'all enough, and I'm going to keep on the slurping, but like, that is just a testament to the type of games that y'all put on. And I think that because of the people that you cast in this community, it leads to situations where we can have a Ponderosa where even in worst case scenarios, I haven't been in every Ponderosa chat for DCP, but like it'd be hard for me to imagine, except for a season where it definitely came off as people were being very angry about things. I can't imagine people being pissed off about things that happen here because of the environment that they're around. And I feel like people want to keep it positive, even if they don't feel the happiest about how they went out. So what I take away from this time around is I'm so thankful that these all-stars carried themselves as all-stars even after they had been voted out, including myself.
I love that. Now to McKenna.
Questions.
McKenna, are you gonna do Ian's questions?
I've got Ian's questions. So the first is, we are taking a member of Exile who played this game, played All Stars, and replace them with someone different from Exile Island, ignoring anything All-Star game, like.
Yeah. So you have you, Simmons, Moorhead, and Zucker.
Well, and we can't count production, right?
You can, but I would
I'll
like another answer as well. So
yeah,
Lily
if you had,
or who?
Yeah.
Okay, well, take me out, put Lily in. That's fine because we can't be on the same cast together. But if Lily's on prod, you take Simmons off and you put Mackenzie because they can't play together either. So I'll say
like that.
Mackenzie for Simmons.
All right. Love that. And then now we have your DCP Mount Rushmore. The 4 people on it. It can be yourself, but give us 4 DCP players to put on your Mount Rushmore.
Not all-star impacted.
I was just ready to say, because we're at Final 5, could I say it, like they've made to Final 5 in All-Stars?
That
is okay. Yes.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, Morgan, Karen, Michael Simmons, and Morgan, Karen, Michael Simmons. I really want to say someone else, but I'm not going to. I'll go with. That would have been funny. I mean, I know this is going to come off as recency bias, but like Austin Moorhead, his first 2 times playing 3 and 4, he's at Final 5 right now.
Ridiculous.
It's insane, and
he has no business.
Doing I don't care how he's being perceived and all this. You don't just get to this point in the game by luck 3 different times. It doesn't happen. You're due for at least one. Yes, he did get voted out first, but like, sorry, the twist is you can come back into the game, and he came back into the game, and he is now at Final 5. Good on him. So I'll say, what did I say? Karen.
You said Karen, Morgan, Simmons, and Austin. Moorhead.
And that could change. That could change what the last 2 episodes.
3.
3? Oh wow.
3.
Okay. Wow. Okay. But yeah, I mean, but there's been so many great players that have played this, and like,
absolutely
I'm excited for. I mean, it's going to be I feel like it's going to be more of the Vanuatu effect instead of the Nicaragua effect, where I love Vanuatu and it came after an all-star season. I feel like the next season you guys do will be more like that than like Nicaragua, where
technically we've already done Vanuatu, so check out Iriki Islands if you want.
You know what I mean.
We know what you mean. Yeah. But Lily, take us home with the last question.
All right. Well, we like to end all of our exits in the same way, and that is, if you could sum up your game in one word, what would it be and why?
Hashtag. I hope that answers your question.
I'm gonna count that.
Yes.
because obviously. But besides that, hashtag always an all-star. You know, we talked about it at the beginning. And my exit, I was so appreciative, and especially after the game, it's like, yeah, it was intense, but it was fun, and I never felt like I was out of my league with these people, because it was, I almost did it, whatever did it means. Did it could mean win? Did it could be make it to the final four or final three, whatever it is. So hashtag, yeah, always an all-star. And thank you all once again.
Well, thank you, Andrew, for telling your story of what happened to you in this game. I know a lot of people are fighting for chair of your fan club, #1 Andrew fan. So you've got a long line here. So thank you for playing again. You were an all-star in the game, and we will see you guys with another exit interview as always, and then more episodes, the Sunday show, you name it, we've got it.
Shout out to the Sunday show.
Just remember, Andrew has an idol.